Sahana Vavatu Sahano Bhunaktu Saha Viryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Samasta Jana Kalyane Niratam Karunamayam Namami Chinmayam Devam Satgurum Brahmavitvaram Satgurum Brahmavitvaram. Om Shri Chinmaya Satgurave Namaha. 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 16th mantra, second valli. Etadevaksharam Brahma. Etadevaksharam Param. Etadhevaksharam Nyatva. Yo yadichhati tasya tate. Etadalambanam shreshtham. Etadalambanam param. Etadalambanam nyatva. Brahmaloke mahiyate. Najayate mriyate va vipaschite. Nayam kutaschinna babhuva kaschite. Ajo nityashashvatoyam puranah. Nahanyate hanyamane sharire. 19th we had not seen, right? Only 18. Nachiketa has asked for his boon. Anyatra dharmat, anyatra adharmat. Tell me that thing which is beyond dharma and adharma. Anyatra asmat kruta krutat. Tell me that thing which is beyond cause and effect. Anyatra bhutacha bhavyacha. Tell me that thing which is unconditioned by time. Yattat pashyasi tadvada. O Yamacharya, what you are seeing right now, that thing you teach me. So Yamacharya said that truth which you have asked for is called as Om. That is the indicator of this truth. It is seen as Saguna with conditioning, and it is understood as Nirguna without conditioning. Thing to remember is, it is the same truth. Nirguna Om alone appears as Saguna. So even when we are discussing about Nirguna Brahma's indicators, in our mind we should understand these are Bhagwan's indicators also. Because essential nature of Bhagwan is Shuddha Chaitanya. So I am trying to understand Bhagwan's Swarupa. Kabir Das Ji says, Nirguna Brahma is my father, Saguna Brahma is my mother. Both will give different things. If we want Ramanam, if we want to take cushioning, take delight, Saguna Brahma. If we want to understand nature of truth as it is, Nirguna Brahma. And the one who worships both of these, they have specific result. Yamacharya said, one who takes support of Nama, takes support of the Shabda Om, and does Upasana, does Japa of Om, whatever he desires in life, that thing he is blessed with. Etad he eva aksharam nyatva yo yadichhati tasya tat. whatever is his ichha, he is able to get it through that upasana. This is a reality in our life that at transactional plane, we will certainly have something or the other which we want done for ourselves. If not a specific desire, at least well-being of everybody. That is also a desire. And in Ramayana, in so many places, Sakama Bhakti is pointed out, that too by not any ordinary person, Sita ji herself. When they sit in the boat in Ganga ji, Sita ji says, if 3 of us go and come back after 14 years, I will offer another puja to Mother Ganga. What in other words we call as mannat. Now that Sakama Bhakti becomes our guiding light, first towards existence of God, His power, His grace, and the ability to take ashraya in Him. And that Sakama Bhakta alone one day becomes Nishkama. See, somebody who doesn't have any faith in God, suddenly to become Nishkama Bhakta, it's a very tall ask. So first he will start as Saguna. First he will start as Sakama. He says, whatever I want, I will go to Bhagwan and ask. Yo yadichhati tasya tate. This point we will see in 7th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, when different types of devotees are mentioned. So distressed devotee is also a devotee. One who is seeking something minus distress is also a devotee. Artha and Artharthi Bhakta, Bhagwan says they are all Sukrutinah. They are all very noble people. Why does he call them Sukrutinah? Because they have sought things only from God. That is why he says they are all Sukrutinah. So Yamacharya says one has to recognize the power of Saguna Brahma. When we talk like this, do we have doubt whether the other person is listening to what we are saying? You might. I don't have doubt, okay? I don't have doubt. You are sitting in front of me. If I say something, whether you agree or not is up to you, but you are listening. We should ask ourselves, when we pray to God, what is our bhavana as far as the recipient is concerned? Do I feel it's a prayer in void, or is it being listened by that Sarvajna, Sarvashaktiman, Sarvaniyanta, and that prayer is answered also? There is one quote I had mentioned in Ramayana class by Gurudev. He says, I know not by what magic he listens to my prayer, but this I know, my prayers are answered. And to that grace, I surrender all my worry. That is how that quote is. I might be paraphrasing few words. But knowing that there is somebody who is listening, not only listening, he has fulfilled several times, he is fulfilling. Whatever way he fulfills is good for me. That is this bhavana of prarthana. So Yamacharya says that Nama Japa, Ashraya should be very strong. That is the supreme most alambanam. It will bring us Saguna Bhakti and fearlessness at transactional plane. Same thing will lead us to Paramartha also. We don't have to do something else. Same sadhana giving us both result. That is why it is supreme. Then came description of Nirguna Brahma. 18th verse onwards, he is describing nature of Om without conditioning. What is this Om by itself? So if we are doing dhyanam, meditation, and you want some shlokas to meditate upon, 18th mantra onwards, every shloka is a meditation verse. Because it is indicating nature of the self. If you are not comfortable with it, if you feel I'm not connecting as much, then you can understand it as this is nature of Bhagavan. Both are okay to understand. Ideal way is hold on to the first one. This is my nature, this is who I am. But it is a matter of fact. Sometimes you might not connect with this first person thing. So then put all the adjectives, attributes to Bhagavan first. Then whenever we are ready, Mahavakya will come and say, Jiva is Shiva. What I understood for Bhagavan, same thing is true for me in my essential nature. Najayate mriyate va vipaschit. That truth is unborn, it never perishes, and its ability to illumine never goes away. Vipaschit means aviparilupta chaitanya. Its ability to illumine doesn't increase or decrease with karma. Then came the most important line of Advaita Vedanta. Nayam kutaschit na babhuva kaschit. Nayam kutaschit means this Om is not born out of anything. You don't have another cause of this Om. This Om is not an effect from any other thing. Nayam kutaschit means that. Na babhuva kaschit. Nothing is born out of this Om. Nothing is born out of this Om. That is where the main concept of Advaita Vedanta gets emphasized. For a long time, we have been told that this whole universe has emerged from consciousness. Right from Tattvabodha, they have been telling us 5 elements came. From those 5 elements, individual sense organs came, mind came, pranas emerged, then Panchikaranam happened, then this universe emerged, everything was there. Now what are they telling us? From that consciousness, nothing came. So how do you understand this? There is one technical concept. Whenever we say something is cause, something is karanam, it can be karanam in 2 ways. The first karanam is called as parinami karanam. These are important words. If you write it down, it will help later. Parinami karanam means cause undergoes modification in becoming the effect. And once you have the effect, you cannot get the cause back. The classic example for this is milk turning into yogurt. We have the milk, you put the culture, right temperature, everything is done, you get the yogurt. But after getting yogurt, if you say, I want that milk back, you cannot get it back. What is the cause of yogurt? Milk. So milk is karanam and yogurt is karya, effect. Milk is the cause, yogurt is the effect. But what kind of cause is milk? Parinami karanam. Parinami karanam means it undergoes modification, parinama, to become the effect. Now there is another type of karanam where as though an effect emerges, but the cause doesn't undergo any modification. An effect as though emerges, but the cause is untouched. That is called as vivarta karanam. Vivarta karanam. And the example for this is rope as the cause and snake emerging from that rope. Illusory snake emerging from that rope as though there is an emergence. But nothing has really happened to the rope. In the midst of that snake, I can still find that rope untouched. So can you really say that snake was born from the rope? To say that is erroneous because it's only due to ignorance I am seeing that snake over there. The moment I bring light, that snake will not run away. Or I cannot say the snake was born and now the snake died. It was neither born nor will it die because it was appearing due to ignorance. In the same way, this universe which has emerged from consciousness, it has emerged unlike milk changing into yogurt, but it has emerged like snake coming out from that rope. Vivarta karanam. But really speaking, that consciousness is unaffected. Nothing was really born from that consciousness. Until my ignorance is there, I think of myself to be this jiva. I am seeing through the lens of mind and ego, world appears to be real. The moment I drop this conditioning of ignorance, when I keep doing Shravanam, see, ignorance is not some object. Erroneous thinking is called as ignorance. So whenever that ignorance is removed through Vedanta Shravanam, that world which was real, that world which was appearing to be real, the reality given to that world is taken away. World is not destroyed, just like that snake is not destroyed. If you say, I destroyed the snake, it's a fallacious statement. You can destroy something, it was really there. It was appearing there because of ignorance. With right knowledge, that appearance is understood to be an appearance. Like that, this Jagat, which is appearing due to ignorance, through knowledge, it is seen as consciousness. Not as another entity which is independent of consciousness, but an appearance in consciousness. It's a very liberating thought, That world which I'm struggling in, that world which I'm struggling to change, is nothing but my own extension. It is not independently there. It is an appearance in consciousness. It is my own projection. The more reality I give to it, the more I will struggle. If I give reality to that snake and use different options to drive away that snake, to that extent I am getting more and more bound in trying to make that snake run away. Ramana Maharshi says this is Raja Marga. If we get it, we get it. By removing avidya, by removing this notion that I am this mind and ego, mind and ahankara, and this body, we can dissolve the whole world. Because world first depends upon mind and ego. Questioning the reality of mind and ego, he says we don't have to worry about world separately. A positive way to look at it is, one who gets this, either you can say Jagat is Mithya, or you can say Jagat is Brahma. Second one, people connect with more. Mithya word, many of them have distaste. What is this Mithya all the time? You say Jagat is divine. There is no separate entity called as Jagat. It is Brahman alone appearing as Jagat. This is the Phalashruti which we see in Bhagavad Gita, Ishavasya Upanishad. The one who sees himself as self of all beings and all beings in himself. That person has understood the truth. Nayam kutaschit na babhuva kaschit. So this truth is that from which nothing else is born. Means it is vivarta karanam. I'll give you some examples. You tell me whether it is parinami karanam or vivarta karanam. Mirage water being born in sunray. Arey vah. Mirage water being born in sunray, vivarta karanam. Ghost appearing on the post, vivarta karanam. Clay turning into pot, Shankaracharya says it is Vivarta Karanam. Because there is no another entity called as pot. When you touch the pot, you will see only clay. It is appearing in different name and form, and it's just a word called as pot. There is no substance there called as pot. Otherwise, I could take pot away, leave clay behind. Okay? Some of you are still Parinami Karanam. Okay, Parinami Karanam. Main thing is mind emerging from consciousness. Vivartaka. That is the main point. That this conditioning which I am seeing, it is an appearance in me. This thought which I get so bothered by, I give so much reality, it is nothing but consciousness distorted with ignorance. Distorted consciousness is Jagat. That distortion of ignorance is removed. What remains is Shuddha Chaitanya. Ajo nitya shashvatoyam puranaha nahanyate hanyamane sharire. This line we had seen in the last session. It is eternal in simple words. If body is destroyed, nothing happens to consciousness. I had mentioned that whenever we explain some point, whatever is our background, we will use examples from that background. If somebody is a doctor and you tell them to speak on Vedanta, they'll bring terminologies from medicine. You ask a musician to explain, they will use swaras to explain Vedanta. Means whatever we are familiar with, we use that topic to communicate. Now what is Yamacharya's department? His department is giving and taking life of jivas. So he is just using that example. Don't get caught up by what he is saying literally. Many times these verses people read and they misinterpret totally in a different direction. But he happens to be doing that work. He is just quoting it as an example. Hanta chainmanyate hantum hataschainmanyate hatam ubhau tau na vijanitah nayam hantina hanyate hanta chainmanyate hantum hataschainmanyate hatam ubhau tau na vijanitah nayam hantina hanyate. Hanta chainmanyate hantum. If a person thinks of himself to be the slayer, hanta, and goes on to slay, and if somebody thinks I am being slayed, hatas chainmanyate hatam. If somebody thinks I am the slayer, or if somebody thinks I am being slayed, ubhau tau na vijanitah. Both of them don't know their higher self. Ubhau tau na vijanitah, because that higher nature neither slays nor gets slayed. Na ayam hanti, na hanyate. So how should we understand this? Instead of hanta, replace that hanta with kartha. The one who thinks himself to be the doer. Karta chet manyate kartum. And one who thinks himself to be bhoktha. Instead of hatah, one who is recipient of an action, means one who is recipient of karma phala, that person is bhoktha. See, bhoktha sometimes, how do we translate it? Enjoyer. All karma phalas we don't enjoy. So, a finer word for that is experiencer. If I think I am experiencer, or if I think I am a doer, both these thoughts are erroneous thoughts. It is only when I identify with this conditioning of body, mind and intellect, I start feeling I am this PFT. So kartha and bhoktha in BMI chart is represented by PFT. Ahankara, if you want to pinpoint in BMI chart, that is this perceiver, feeler, thinker. Hantachin manyate hantum, hataschet manyate hatam. As Shuddha Chaitanya, neither is he karta nor is he bhokta. Now this particular concept is very nicely portrayed through one Puranic story. That the real self is neither karta nor bhokta. In Vrindavan, Bhagwan Krishna, he would give different teachings to gopis. He would tell them something. And his communication style was very different. And they had so much trust. Whatever Bhagwan said, they would do. So one day he tells them, Bhagwan Vedvyasji has come for Chaturmasa. Monsoon season, he is going to stay here. All of you take bhiksha for him. Whatever best things you can make, all cows are there, milk products, whatever you can make the best thing, take it for Vedvyasji. And Yamunaji was raging with water at that time. It was monsoon season. He says, you don't worry, you go across. So while going, the water was manageable, knee-deep water, all of them went across. Vedvyasji was sitting on the other side of the bank doing his tapasya. They come and say, we want to serve bhiksha. They serve very nicely. Generally the tradition is, after you have served, you can eat. But that day Vedvyasji was so hungry, he finished the whole thing. Whatever they had brought, everything he finished. So nicely he had. But by the time they finished serving and cleaning all the plates and everything, the water level of Yamunaji started rising. And it became so much that it was almost flooding. Whenever gopis are in difficulty, where do they go to? Krishna, Krishna, Mahabaho. They call on to Bhagwan Krishna, say, this is where we are, it is night time now, how do we get back to our home? Bhagwan Krishna tells them, you go to Yamunaji, first chant Yamunashtakam, please her. And after you have chanted, pray to Yamunaji and say, if Bhagwan Vedvyasji has fasted the whole day today, may the waters recede. If Bhagwan Vedvyasji has fasted the whole day today, may the waters of Yamunaji recede. Gopi say, Bhagwan, you want us to stay here whole night? We only fed him and we saw that he finished all the things that we brought, and you are telling us to ask this to Yamunaji. Bhagwan said, don't ask too many questions, just go and ask. So gopis go, pray to Yamunaji and say, if Bhagwan Vedvyasji has had Akhanda Upvasa today, may your waters recede. And right when they are chanting, Yamunaji calms down. So all the gopis, they cross over Yamunaji. Very happily they go across. But they have a burning question in their heart. We are glad that we crossed. But how did Bhagwan Vedvyasji fast? So they call Bhagwan Krishna again. They say, we only fed him, he only ate. And Yamunaji also accepted that Vedvyasji has fasted whole day. Bhagwan answers with this verse. Hanta chen manyate hantum, hatas chen manyate hatam, ubhau tauna vijanitah, nayam hanti na hanyate. That Vedvyasji whom you saw eating was just the PFT. With conditioning, he accepted whatever you brought. But in his own eyes, he is abiding in that pure consciousness, which doesn't take anything, which doesn't give anything. So if you say Vedvyasji had bhiksha, it is also true, with conditioning. If you say he fasted the whole day, that statement is also true, as pure consciousness. Kartrutva and bhoktrutva is with upadhi. The one who thinks I am with conditioning, that person doesn't know his higher nature. His conditioned existence alone becomes his identity. And Vedanta wants to take us to our unconditioned existence. Now he is going to elaborate few more indicators of the same consciousness, but in a very unique way. He will not point it out as an object. You see the style in which he is pointing out now. Anoraniyan mahato mahiyan Atmasya jantor nihito guhayam Tamakratuf pashyati vitashokah Dhatu prasadan mahimanamatmanah Anoraniyan mahato mahiyan Atmasya jantor nihito guhayam Tamakratuf pashyati vitashokah Dhatu prasadan mahimanamatmanah. In Zen philosophy, there is one way of teaching which is called as Quan. One style of teaching called as Quan, which are contradictory statements. For example, one popular Quan is, you have heard the sound of two hands clapping. Now listen to the sound of one hand clap. You have heard the sound of two hands clapping. Now listen to the sound of one hand clap. And the Zen master is looking, is anybody answering? Because the purpose of this koan is not to answer. It is to make us think such that it gives an insight. What is it trying to say? So the implied meaning of that koan is, you have heard or you have understood what is duality. Now think about what is non-duality. Two hands clapping is duality. Sound of one hand clapping is non-duality. So that is one technique used in Zen philosophy. This is a Vedantic koan, this particular mantra. How is that truth pointed out as pairs of opposites? It is said, Anoraniyan. Think about the smallest particle in this universe. What is the smallest particle? Atom. Whatever the subatomic particle is, quark, whatever that thing is, smallest atom, smallest particle. Consciousness is that which is smaller than that. Whatever smallest you know, it will be smaller than that particular thing. Now this person has got it. What is consciousness? Anoho aniyan. By the time he feels he knows it, next line comes. Mahato mahiyan. Think about the biggest object you know, biggest thing in this creation. Consciousness is bigger than that. What is the biggest thing? They say there is one cluster of galaxy 10 billion years ago, 10 billion years away, 10 billion light years away. You see, that is the biggest object known to mankind. Whatever that object is, some planet, let us say. What is consciousness? Bigger than that object. Now the student is confused, He says, tell me clearly, is it small or is it big? Because you said it is smaller than the smallest, bigger than the biggest. See, our tendency, because we have learnt everything as an object, is to objectify consciousness also. This contradiction is pointed out to help us understand that consciousness is not an object. It is neither small nor big. It is a substratum of small, substratum of big. It is common to both. It is that substratum in which small appears. It is that substratum in which the biggest object appears. What about in-between objects? They also appear in that same consciousness. Anoho aniyan, mahato mahiyan. A good example for this is space. If you take a needle and you see the eye of a needle, you can say space is that which is smaller than the eye of a needle. And you take a big stadium, big room is there. You say, what is that space? It is bigger than that room also. Bigger than the biggest area you can imagine. That space is more than that. So what is space? Is it small or is it big? You say space is space. In that, based on conditioning, we get this idea of big and small. In simple words, what this line means is, it is a substratum of everything. It is neither small nor big. It is not an object which is having dimensions. Small and big can come only when you have dimensions. Means some upadhi you have to include, by which alone you say it is small or it is big. That is the meaning of the first line. Anoha aniyan mahato mahiyan. Now this consciousness which is there, where will I find it? Is consciousness localized or is it all-pervading? All-pervading. It is not localized to any place. Wherever we see anatma, there is atma. But if I have to recognize consciousness, will I recognize it outside or will I recognize it inside first? Yamacharya says we have to first recognize it inside. Atma asya jantoho nihito guhayam. In the cave of one's heart, as the illuminator of thoughts, this consciousness is recognized. Not outside. Although consciousness is all-pervading, but I will not be able to recognize it outside first. I have to first recognize it as aham, as the witness of thoughts, and that consciousness I understand to be all-pervading. Atma Sakshatkara has to happen within. I'll ask you another question. Where will I recognize God? Outside or inside? Raman Maharshi says, Isha Darshanam Swatma Rupatah. The place where he is certainly there, where you cannot miss him. He says that is inside. Isha Darshanam Swatma Rupatah. Once you have recognized him there, see his vibhuti everywhere. Outside, as his body, as his universe, everything is vibhuti of that same consciousness, same Bhagavan. That is this line, Atma se jantor nihito guhayam. Means after studying Vedanta, I should not search for God anywhere else. Whether I am able to stay with Bhagavan or not depends upon my sadhana chatushtaya. But the direction of search has to be very precise. Atma se jantor nihito guhayam. Now this is the nature of knowledge. Who will come to find this? Tamakratuhu pashyati vitashokaha. Who will come to recognize God? The one who wants God will recognize God. Akratuhu means one who is not looking for worldly things. Worldly things can be his means, but world is not his goal. Akratuhu means desireless one, one who doesn't have world as the goal, one who has Bhagavan as the goal. That person will see God. See the first interaction with Ramakrishna Paramahamsa that Swami Vivekananda has. What is his question? Have you seen God? Ramakrishna Paramahamsa says, I see him more clearly than I see you. But next statement is interesting. He says, but my child, who is interested in God? He says, we shed jugs of tears for the world. If we shed even a little bit for God, that person will come to see. Means he has to have that longing that this is my goal and this alone I want. Tamakratuhu pashyati vita shokah. What happens when he sees Bhagavan? All his sorrows are removed. He understands how this mind was projecting so many things, all fears are removed, becomes free from all shoka. Tarati shokam atmavit. Naradji, he goes to Sanat Kumaras with a long list of degrees. 19 plus degrees he has. Visiting card, Naradji's, if you do, it needs a A4 sheet. So many things he knows, but he says, "O Bhagavan, my shoka has not gone. I have all this knowledge, but my discontentment and misery coming from this samsara, it is still there." Then Sanat Kumaras tell him about upasana first. Then teach him about nature of truth. Then say, this truth you are. And unless we understand it, our shoka will not go away. Whatever solutions are there in between, they are good solutions. But absolute solution is to know Atma. Tamakratu pashyati vita shokah dhatu prasadan mahimanam atmanah. Every word of this mantra is very beautiful. Dhatu prasada means this person is somebody who has a very cooperative mind and sense organs. Whenever he wants to think about something higher, whenever he wants to pull his mind back from the world, he can do it effortlessly. That is cooperation of sense organ and mind. Otherwise, they will constantly pull us out. And when he is meditating, that time you will realize this, how important is Dhatu Prasada. That mind has to be calm and sense organ should not be turbulent. For that he has to practice turning his attention inwards and letting go of worldly things. Mind should not get stuck. If he is able to do it, he has this Dhatu Prasada. Another meaning of Dhatu Prasada is sweeter. Dhatu means God. Prasada means grace of God. So there is no too much self-effort there. Who will come to know the truth? The one who has grace of God, one who is devoted to Bhagavan. That person will know and benefit from this truth. In several places, even in Vedantic text, the most popular statement is Ishvara Anugrahat eva Pumsam Advaita Vasana. That if we feel there is need to know the truth, that itself is God's grace. If we feel I should start doing sadhana, I should start walking on the spiritual path, that itself is Bhagwan's grace. In Bhagavatam, there is one story of Avijñāta Sakha, Puranjana Upakhyana. This Puranjana gets very indulgent in the world and suffers because of that indulgence, erroneous thinking. In one birth he is a man because he meditates upon Puranjani. Next birth he is born as women. And then again he suffers because of samsara. Then finally, when he is lamenting, Avijñāta Sakha comes. Avijñāta means unacknowledged. He was always there walking, but he was not acknowledged. That is Bhagavan. And he says, neither were you man nor were you woman. You were that pure consciousness. You thought of yourself to be this conditioning and you got bound. But the main point to note there is, Puranjana did not call Avijñata Sakha. Avijñata Sakha, out of compassion for Puranjana, came and gave that Upadesha. That is called as Dhatu Prasada. Bhagwan's compassion on a devotee, one who is striving. That devotee gets the right guidance and his mind and sense organs start to cooperate. Vedanta doesn't encourage kartrutva pradhana sadhana. Kartrutva pradhana means doership oriented sadhana, spiritual practices. Bhakta might be there who is doing lot of japa. But you ask him, are you doing japa? He says, by God's grace I am able to do japa. Our own mind strength, very difficult to do even sadhana. So Dhatu Prasada means more onus is on Bhagwan. The one who has that grace of God, that person will come to see it. He comes to know the Mahima of Atma. Mahima is also an important word. Not only does he know Atma, but he knows greatness of Atma. See, some person might be there whom we are shaking hands, meeting every week. But until somebody tells us, oh, this person is that, we might have seen, interacted, we don't know Mahima of that person. Like that, have we interacted with Atma? Every night in deep sleep. We have exclusive access, exclusive appointment with Bhagavan. As that blissful self, we have tasted a glimpse of it. But now, the effort is to know the Mahima of that Atma. Even in waking state, I am still that blissful self. Untouched by conditioning, that is the Mahima. I think I am kartha bhoktha, but really speaking I am akarta abhokta. I am not the doer, I am not the experiencer. That is called as Mahima of Atma. Means some glimpse of Atma we all get. We cannot say Atma is totally unknown. The existence part of Atma is known to us. For example, if somebody asks us, do you exist? We don't have doubts. If this room light is taken away, let us say, there are objects. Now if somebody asks us, in front of you, is there a cart? Last class there was cart behind, right? Let's say light is taken off and somebody says, behind you is there a cart? Now you'll say, I don't know whether that cart exists or not. I need light. I have to see and then I will know. But if somebody asks, are you there? In my existence, I don't have a doubt. So existence part of Atma is known as I exist. I know I am a sentient being. And now and then there is some glimpse of Ananda. That also we cannot deny. If there was no Ananda at all, then we would never think there is something called as Ananda Swarupa. So I know I am Sat, means I exist. I know I am sentient, and I know I experience happiness. I become happy at some point. Now what is the Mahima of Atma? To know these things without conditioning. So there is a difference between saying I am Sat or I exist, saying I exist, and saying I am existence. I exist if I say I am conditioning by this body. And I am localized, I am only here. But when I say I am existence, I am the substratum of not only this body, but entire universe. To say I am sentient, is identifying with one mind. One set of sense organs, I say this is sentient. This body is sentient. That is one upadhi. But to understand I am sentience, I am consciousness. Very simple, huh? Just remove conditioning, whatever remains is this. Don't try to think about it as another object. How does existence look? Whatever exists is because of that existence. Whatever sentience I feel in this mind is because of that consciousness. And whatever ananda I feel in this mind is because of that same Chaitanya. I am happy is from mind standpoint. What will be from consciousness standpoint? I am happiness. So there is a difference between Sukham and Ananda. Sukham is felt at mind level. And Ananda is Swarupa of Atma. Again the same technique. Remove conditionings. What remains after removing conditionings? That is Ananda Swarupa Atma. So when we sit down for meditation, this should be our thought process. When I say, Mano Buddhi Ahankara Chitta Ninaham, don't go fast. One word, focus on that. I am not the mind. I am not these thoughts. Neither this buddhi. Nor this person. Nor the memories which are coming back. Then who am I? Chidananda Rupaha Shivoham Shivoham. I am that truth which is unconditioned by these conditionings. Knowing myself as unconditioned, that is my Mahima. Who will know this? The one who wants to know it in this way. Akratuhu means he doesn't have any other desires. Desires might be there for transactional things. But you ask him, what do you want in your life? Human birth, what is the goal? He will not point at worldly things. He will say, human birth, goal is to know Bhagavan. That person will come to know it. Next verse also is pointed out with set of opposites, pairs of opposites. Asino duram brajati Shayano yati sarvatah Kastam madamadam devam Madanyo jñātumarhati Duram brajati Shayano yati sarvatah Kastam madamadam devam Madanyo jñātumarhati. This verse I will not enter because it is, if I enter it will take longer than 5 minutes. But in these 5 minutes what we'll do is, we'll circulate some index cards. So on Kathopanishad, until whatever we have covered so far, if you have anything to ask, you can write it down. We have one more session. Next session we will not have. The one after is Swamiji's Yajna. One more last session. We'll spend time to complete this particular Valli. And if there are questions, we can take it. Okay? So quietly, in the next 4 minutes, you can write down whatever questions you have. If at all you want, you can raise your hand. And general also is okay. You can keep one with you, and after this is done also you can write and turn it in back. I'll gather everything later. Okay, you can take your time to write. We'll conclude. Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om.